All right, we're going to try a few. So there's the formula. Here's your, I don't like when they use A, B, and C as variables, but 2 is your A, 1 is the B for the quadratic, and there's your C. So I'm going to use X over here instead of B value. X is equal to the opposite of the red B there, so the opposite of 1, plus and minus square root 1 squared. I'm using this formula up here. That's where I'm getting that information. Minus 4 times the A value, which is 2. The C value is negative 14, all divided by 2 times the 2 value. So first thing we're going to do is simplify all of this. 1 squared is 1. Subtract 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times negative 14. 8 times negative 14 is negative 112. So when you add those two together, you get positive 113. All right. So negative 1 plus and minus square root of 113 all over 4. So that means our x is equal to negative 1 subtract root 113 divided by 4. And x is, not x is equal, negative 1 plus root 113 all divided by 4. Okay, so when you go to graph it, now you could type that into your calculator to figure out the square root of 113 is a little bit more than 10. So negative 1 subtract 10 is negative 11 divide 4. And negative 1 plus 10 would be 9 over 4. That's not close, but it gives you an idea. So if you had negative 11 divide 4 as a rough estimate and 9 divide 4, it's really more like 10.6. So we're going to call that 9.6 divide 4. I don't know. That's less than 3. That's a little bit less than 3. So it's going to look maybe about like this. Negative 1 subtract root 113 divide 4. This might be negative 1 plus root 113 divide 4. So we know it touches down here at negative 14. So maybe the graph looks something like this. I don't know. That's probably close enough for what we're doing today. Okay, here's another one. Your A, your B, your C. Opposite of B, that's going to be positive 10. B squared minus 4 times the A value times the C value, all divided by 2 times the A value. All right, so let's simplify under here. Well, negative 10 squared, that's 100. Subtract a negative, that's add. 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24. So that's square root of 124. And I think 16 goes into that. Nope. So let's just divide 4 and see what we get. Yeah. So we can rewrite that as square root of 4 times 31. Square root of 4 is 2. So all of this will simplify to positive 10 plus and minus, instead of 124, we're going to write 4 times 31, and then we're going to take out square root of 4 is 2, all over 6, and then look at these all have a 2 in common. 10 divided 2 is 5. 2 divided 2 is 1. And 6 divided 2 is 3. So x is equal to 5 subtract root 31 over 3, and 5 plus root 31 over 3. You go to graph it. It's going to touch on the y-axis negative 2. Well, square root of 31 is somewhere between 5 and 6. So 5 subtract halfway between 5 and 6. You don't even get a full 1/3. So this might be about negative 1/6, something like that. And this is 5 plus, let's say 5.5, so 10.5 divided 3. That's going to be a little bit more than 3. It might be closer to 3 2/3. So maybe about there. Well, we wouldn't write it that way, though. We would say 5 plus root 31 divide 3. And then right there is 5 subtract root 31 divide 3. And then this graph is doing something like this. And then halfway between those two roots is the axis of symmetry. I think over here I forgot to write it. All right. Remember, where they touch the x-axis, those are the two real roots. This right here, two real roots. Where it touches the y-axis, and you get that from the equation right up there, that's the y-intercept. By the way, the real roots are also the x-intercepts. Where it touches the y-axis is the y-intercept. That's at 0, -2. And the axis of symmetry is halfway between roots. So you can add those together, divide it by 2, and there's a newer method I'm going to show you in a little bit that makes it easier. But so there's a couple different methods you're going to have. All right, let's try another. So our A, our B, our C. Opposite of B, B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. So under the radical, 8 squared is 64. Subtract a negative is adding a positive. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 times 15 is 480 plus 64 is 544. I don't believe 544 is a perfect square. It is not. So we're going to do factors. First thing I'm going to try is I'm going to divide that by 16. Ah, that works. So we can rewrite 54 as 16 times 34. And then the square root of 16 is 4. And all of that is over 2 times 8 is 16. So x is equal to negative 8 plus and minus 4 root 34. And look at negative 8, 4, and 16 all have a 4 in common. So when you divide out of 4, negative 8 divide 4 is negative 2. 4 divide 4 is 1. So we don't have to write it. And 16 divide 4 is 4. So x is equal to negative 2. Subtract root 34 all over 4. And negative 2 plus root 34 all over 4. And then you still do the graph. And then if you're going to figure out about how much that is, root 34 is really close to root 36, which is 6. So that would be negative 2, a little bit less than negative 6, which is negative 8 all over 4. So this will be about, I don't know, maybe negative negative 1.8, something like that. And then negative 2 plus almost 6. Well, that means this one will be less than 1, which is about maybe 0.8. And then remember, we touch on the y-axis whatever that c value, whatever that c value is. Did not mean to cross it off with it. There you go. So negative 15 is where it's going to touch. This right here is negative 2. Subtract root 34 all over 4. And this is 2, negative 2 plus root 34 all over 4. It's going to come down, go back up, something like that. All right, I'm going to end that one there, and then we'll do a few more.